From the 1986 edition of A Clockwork Orange, Anthony Burgess wrote, "I should myself be glad to disown it for various reasons, but this is not permitted. I receive mail from students who try to write theses about it, or requests from Japanese dramaturges to turn it into a sort of no-play. It seems likely to survive, while other works of mine that I value more bite the dust. This is not an unusual experience for an artist." Rachmaninoff used to groan because he was known mainly for a Prelude in C-sharp minor, which he wrote as a boy. Kids cut their pianistic teeth on a Minuet in G, which Beethoven composed only so that he could detest it. While less critically acclaimed than A Clockwork Orange, Sonic has still left an indelible mark on popular culture in the form of comics, games, and apocalypse-resistant pasta. In the 90s, core titles were still developed by the in-house Sonic team, and they couldn't have been more sick of it. While they did put out the occasional game like Ristar, in the early 90s, Sonic team dutifully cranked away at sequel after sequel until the Saturn came along and designer Yuji Naka was promoted to producer. In this capacity, he said, "No more Sonic games. We're doing something new." Up against Mario 64 and Crash Bandicoot, Knights did not sell well. Sonic Team farmed out work to Traveler's Tales to do Sonic 3D Blast and Sonic R, but in-house, they began work on a completely new IP. And you probably have only heard about it because every goddamn game in the world has been LP'd somewhere. Burning Rangers was a radical departure from their normal output, as much a deliberate break as an auteur's fancy. "What do you want to do?" management asks them. "Not Sonic," they say. So Burning Rangers is even less Sonic than Knights. Imagine Sega management was quite fed up with them. The game itself is a perky, hyper-optimistic vision of the future. Batman for kids who wanted to fight fires instead of crime. At a time when anime lay in the shadow of Evangelion, Sonic Team's thought processes still lay in the 16-bit era. There's one constant in Sonic Team's history, it's being relentlessly behind the times. So, why wasn't this thing flying off store shelves? It would have been hard for any Sega Saturn game to run profitable numbers in the West in 1998. Most third parties had given up on the system, and Sega's own output wasn't enough to spike sales. Sega of America president Bernie Stolar famously said at that 1993 E3, "Saturn is not our future." And yet another of the 1998 Saturn games, Panzer Dragoon Saga, is still spoken of in hushed reverent tones while it goes for hundreds on eBay. Part of why is probably because of its techno-organic post-futurism meshed with the more grounded, epic scopes of the games that were more popular at the time. Against Metal Gear Solid, Ocarina of Time, and Half-Life, Burning Rangers cover appeared as a cotton candy throwback to the Gundam knockoffs of the 1980s. And who was their foe? Fire. Not even a fire elemental enemy, just a force of nature. The middling reviews didn't help either, nor did the crappy marketing Sega tossed out for this game. No one but the fans were going to buy this game anyway, they thought. The buzz around this game was less than encouraging as well. All my friends called it the glitch. You can see why. The walls were optional. Hello, adjacent rooms. The resolution makes the graphics look like spittle. Look at this. I get hit by a projectile through the door and warp through it while doing the button pressing animation. That's some speedrunning strats right there. And the camera is less than reactive. The gamepad triggers turn at 90-degree angles about a second after you press them. Here's a free look feature, but it moves about as fast as the Hubble telescope. This wouldn't be so bad if not for the auto-aim feature. Every shot is auto-aimed if it locks into a fire or enemy, but the auto-aim is finicky. Often, you need to turn the camera to judge where the enemy is, so you can move into position to lock onto it. The enemy, especially green fires, do not need to adjust their cameras, and thus can take all the pot shots they want at you. Even with a more helpful camera, moving your character in a timely manner through the 3D environments is akin to rolling a Katamari through molasses. The characters take a few seconds to accelerate, but you don't need to run from anything. All the enemies are static, except for the robots who don't move very much, or are invulnerable if they do. No, the real trouble is in jumping. Jump from a standstill, and your second jump will cause you to air dash briefly. Jump from running, and your second jump will propel you higher. This means if you are trying to go up, you need to remember to start running first, which is difficult on small platforms. Oh, and the game has an Ocarina of Time styled auto jump. So you go up even if you want to fall off a platform, possibly sending you upwards into waiting flames. And in the fourth area, there's a level that expects you to navigate transparent floors no wider than your character model going several screens upwards. You will fall there a lot, and you have to do it over and over again. Did I mention this game is on a timer? Look at the upper right-hand side of the GUI. That timer constantly ticks upwards, like the timer ticking downwards in Nights. It only goes down if you shoot flames or rescue people, so you are always desperate to do either. When it increases by 20%, it accosts you with a volley of flames that grow fiercer the higher your counter gets. And if you hit 100%, they don't stop. The game forces you to play at a speed dictated by the game, rather than the speed dictated by you, the player. You will experience multiple deaths until you learn to play the game as the developer intends. This works for Dark Souls because the player dictates the speed at which they encounter enemies, so they can set the variables of each encounter. You cannot do this in Burning Rangers. You need to memorize the course and run it at a pace set by the game, with a bad camera and sluggish controls, else you are punished, literally, by the flames of hell. The developers do realize this, and will spawn more fires for you to keep your percentage lower, which makes your whole job as firefighter counterproductive since you're always looking to start more fires to put out. But even when you do, good luck getting that crystal. Crystals are the sonic rings of this game. Get hit while you don't have any, and it's back to the last checkpoint, although rescued civilians are considered checkpoints too. When formed, the crystals bounce around with very slow physics, often through walls and into other fires, instead of warping directly to you. Fortunately, the game doesn't grade you on how many crystals you have accumulated, just on how many you've used to rescue civilians. 5 crystals will beam a civilian to safety, but 10 will give you an extra continue and raise your grade at the end of the level. Higher grades don't really get you anything except more views on YouTube, but it's still the game's way of judging you, whether you like it or not. And just to get it out of the way, the attract mode isn't helped by the blatant English in the opening cinematic. The story needs more conveniences to work than Star Wars Twilight fanfiction. The Western dub was Seriously, listen to this.
しっかりして助けに来たよ
Awesome.
息が苦しい無理に喋らなくていいよ座標セット
転送座標確認転送開始転送完了
To me.
I'm here to save you. Hold on. I can't breathe. Don't talk. Everything will be all right.
And why does this game have passwords when it also has saves?
Got it.
Still, the game is paced well, mixing up platforming with firefighting and rewarding you as a civilian at all the right beats. You feel like you're always doing something important, until stage 4 and its long stretches of nothing. To make the stages replayable though, they added 2 random elements: remixed area geometry and remixed civilian locations. Every stage has either alternative paths or a new cul-de-sac containing a new robot or monster. It also has a number of spawn points for civilians, which means you have to check every spawn point to see if a civilian was loaded there. It feels less spontaneous and more random. But no matter how many times you do a level, the fire is the same every time, and it is your main enemy. So despite the random elements, the subsequent playthroughs are repetitive. You're expected to know where the fire is and how to plan your route. And yet, this game has the ambition of Saturn Shenmue, or even Shadow of the Colossus. Its gameplay is unlike anything else at the time, and it oozes style. At the time of grimdark Final Fantasy VII clones, this game had the bright colors and cheerfulness of Grandia or Skies of Arcadia. It is glorious neon techno-future land with hot costumes and lasers. Every area is distinct, in spite of its low polygon composition. From the Flower Research Facility, to the underwater theme park, to the space colony, to Iria's psychedelic prison, every area is unique. And despite the game's presentation, Sonic Team's ambition is truly admirable here. For example, the transparency effects. The PlayStation 1 had support for alpha blending, which meant its transparencies always looked clean and clear, as you can see from this first-gen title, Battle Arena Toshinden. When the Saturn tried to do the same effect, it typically had to render a dithering effect, as you can see here, where the transparent polygons look like a black and white mesh. But in Burning Rangers, Sonic Team actually pulled off true transparency and used it to beautiful effect. It's not just that the polygons are transparent, it's the fact that it had never been done before at this scale. This was some Amiga Haxor level demo scene shit. We've got this graphical effect working, and we're gonna make a game out of it. That is gall and chutzpah on the screen, and if you're into the Tron-type art styles, it's so shiny. And the final boss is the freaking devil. Literally. None of this Iblis shit. You fight the devil at the end, and he's protected by 2 shields, so you can't even shoot him directly. Man, does this fight suck, but oh god, is it epic. Oh, and the Japanese soundtrack is pure buttery smooth 60s jazz club. Check out this track from the intro. Now, listen to the smoky nightclub ambience of the ending theme. It's a shame they redid them for the Western release. Listen. Ew. It's not like Sonic Team didn't try to make a Sonic game for the Saturn. If you played the Sonic World level from Sonic Jam, you can experience the test levels they made to see how Sonic would work in 3D. And more than Knights, Burning Rangers gave that team the chops to work in real 3D. The characters in Burning Rangers and Sonic Adventure take a little time to accelerate to their top speeds. Both their cameras force lock-ons to bosses and rotate in increments of 90 degrees. The Level 2 fish boss from Burning Rangers is directly reused as the Chaos 4 boss in Sonic Adventure. Both of their fights take place in water, with floating pads that the boss can knock down and launch water bombs at you. There, see what I mean? And finally, they have the same mascot, the Orca. See? There he is in Burning Rangers, and there he is in Sonic Adventure. I bet it's the same Orca, too, swimming in the underwater research facility saved by Big Landman, not the cat, and then it's chasing Sonic over the waves. And finally, both games have 6 playable characters, 6 in Burning Rangers, and 6 in Sonic Adventure. I'm just saying, Sonic Adventure is a fantastic game for its time. Just that Sonic Team probably wanted you to remember Burning Rangers more, you know?